At some point in life, many people experience a quiet but persistent question arising from within. Is this all there is? Despite success, relationships, knowledge, and material comfort, something feels incomplete. This feeling is not a flaw or weakness. It is the soul's call to awaken. The question, how can I become spiritual, does not arise from curiosity alone. It arises from a deep inner recognition that life must be lived at a deeper level than survival, pleasure, or achievement. Spirituality begins where external answers end. It is not an escape from the world, but an awakening within it. It is a shift from living unconsciously driven by habits, fears, and conditioning, to living consciously, rooted in awareness, presence, and inner truth. Spirituality is not as belief, ideology, or religion, but it is direct experience and inner realization. It is a journey of remembering what has always been present beneath thought, identity, and noise. Chapter 1. What spirituality truly means. Spirituality is often misunderstood. Many associate it with rituals, moral codes, supernatural beliefs, or withdrawal from worldly life. While these may accompany spiritual traditions, they are not spirituality itself. Spirituality is the realization of your true nature beyond the mind and body. At its essence, spirituality is awareness becoming aware of itself. It is the recognition that you are not merely a physical form, you are not your thoughts, you are not your emotions, you are not your past or future. You are the conscious presence that experiences all of these. A spiritual life is not defined by what you believe, but by how deeply you are present, aware, and free from unconscious identification. Most human suffering does not come from life itself, but from unconscious living. From early childhood, people are conditioned by family, culture, education, and society to identify with roles, expectations, and mental narratives. Unconscious living looks like constant mental noise, automatic emotional reactions, seeking happiness in external validation, fear of loss, rejection, or uncertainty, identification with success or failure. When you live unconsciously, life happens to you, rather than through you. You react rather than respond. Spirituality begins the moment you notice this unconsciousness. Awareness is the cornerstone of all spiritual awakening. Without awareness, there can be no freedom. Awareness means observing thoughts without believing them, feeling emotions without being consumed by them, witnessing reactions without acting impulsively. When awareness arises, a space opens between stimulus and response. In this space lies freedom. You begin to see that thoughts are events in the mind, not absolute truths. Emotions are energies, not identities. Awareness dissolves the illusion that you are your mental activity. The ego is not evil, but it is simply a psychological structure created for survival. However, when mistaken for the true self, it becomes the source of suffering. The ego thrives on comparison, control, fear, separation, validation, identity. The ego constantly says, I am better than, I am worse than, I must protect myself, I must be important. Spiritual growth is not about destroying the ego, but seeing through it. Once seen clearly, it loses its dominance. Meditation is not a technique to achieve something, it is a practice of allowing what already exists to be revealed. True meditation is not forcing the mind to stop, is not controlling thoughts, is not striving for experiences. Meditation is resting as awareness. When you sit in silence and observe the breath, sensations, or thoughts without judgment, the mind gradually quiets not through force, but through understanding. In stillness, you encounter your natural state, peaceful, spacious, and whole. Spirituality unfolds in the present moment. The past exists as memory, the future exists as imagination, life happens now. Presence means fully experiencing this moment, letting go of psychological time, being attentive without tension. When you are present, life becomes vivid. Even ordinary moments, walking, breathing, listening, carry depth and aliveness. Presence dissolves anxiety, because anxiety depends on imagined futures. Presence dissolves regret, because regret depends on mental pasts. Detachment is often misunderstood as indifference. In truth, detachment is the ability to engage deeply without losing inner balance. Detachment means loving without possession, working without obsession, enjoying without clinging, experiencing without identification. A detached person is not cold, but they are free. They participate in life fully, yet remain anchored within themselves. Fear and love are the two fundamental energies of human experience. Fear contracts, love expands. Spirituality is the gradual replacement of fear-based living with love-based being. Love in spirituality is not emotional dependency, it is compassion without expectation. Acceptance without weakness, presence without judgment. When love becomes a state of being rather than an emotion, relationships transform. You no longer seek others to complete you, you meet them as a whole being. Spiritual growth often accelerates through suffering, not because suffering is desirable, but because it exposes illusion. Suffering arises when reality does not match expectation. Attachment meets impermanence. Identity meets change. When resisted, suffering deepens. When observed, suffering transforms into wisdom. Every challenge becomes an invitation to awaken. Acceptance is not resignation. It is aligned with reality. When you stop resisting what is, inner conflict dissolves. Surrender does not mean giving up action. It means releasing inner opposition. From surrender arises clarity. From clarity arises wise action. True spirituality is lived, not displayed. It shows itself in how you listen, how you speak, how you respond to difficulty, how you treat yourself, how you treat others. Spirituality is not separate from daily life. It is daily life lived consciously. Spirituality has no final destination. Awakening deepens endlessly. Each layer of awareness reveals deeper freedom, humility, and peace. The goal is not perfection, but presence. You begin to live not from fear, but from trust, not from ego, but from essence. In conclusion, to become spiritual is not to acquire something new. It is to remove what obscures your true nature. When identification with thought dissolves, awareness shines. When fear loosens its grip, love flows naturally. When resistance ends, peace emerges effortlessly. Spirituality is not something you chase, it is something you allow, and in that allowing you discover that what you were seeking was never separate from you.